Today is Palm Sunday. That is this beginning of Easter week. And sometimes maybe you heard it called Holy Week or Passion Week, but really this final week of Jesus' life and his ministry on the earth. And I want to take you to a traditional Palm Sunday passage. If you've been in church today but believe in by God's word, it's living and active. It's sharper than any double-edged sword. It's alive. It's moving. That as we interact with this text, as we come to this passage, some of us for however long you've been alive or you've been in church, that God's going to show you something new, and he's going to show me something new together. So I want to take you to John chapter 12. John chapter 12 is where we'll be. In a little bit of context, as you turn there, or you look on the screen, or you pull it up on a phone, Jesus is entering into the city of Jerusalem, and as he's doing it, he's entering in when the city's getting ready for the Passover festival. There's lots of congestion in this festival. This festival was the Israelites, the nation of Israel, celebrating God's deliverance from the nation of Egypt. So Israel was under the leadership and the lordship of the Egyptians for years and years and years, and they're praying for God's deliverance, and God delivers them, and they create this festival to remember and to encounter. And they're also, God, would you continue to save us? God, would you continue to deliver us? And the city of Jerusalem, some would at least be conservative to say that the city would double in size. Some would say it would triple or quadruple in size. And so there's lots of congestion. There's lots of busyness. It's a little bit like small town America when it's homecoming game. You know that? Like you're trying to go to McDonald's. You go to McDonald's, don't lie, right? You go to McDonald's and you're like, why is it taking so long? And why is this... Oh yeah, it's homecoming weekend. Or you're trying to get groceries, or you're trying to get home early from work, and there's lots of congestion, and there's lots of movement, and people walking across the street. This is Jerusalem when Jesus is entering in. Lots of busyness, lots of buzz. To add to the noise, to add to the party, Jesus has just raised a guy from the dead. Okay, so as listed, there wasn't enough going on in Jerusalem. Jesus is coming from a little village outside of Jerusalem called Bethany, and he's just raised his bestie, Lazarus, from the dead. So there's lots of buzz around Jerusalem by itself, then there's lots of buzz around the person of Jesus, and the two are going to collide in this moment. And Jesus is entering into it. So as this passage comes, and as this story comes, some of us, we've heard it as the triumphal entry. It's not like a peaceful scenario. Okay, and it's not a scenario without different dynamics and different personalities and different groups at play. If you read the whole of John chapter 12, you start to see some of that. We'll jump into verse 12. It says this: the great crowd, again, the great crowd that's come to Jerusalem, that had come for the festival, heard that Jesus was on his way. Verse 13, they took palm branches. We'll talk about that in a minute. They took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, Hosanna! Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. Jesus found a donkey and sat on it, as it is written, do not be afraid, daughter Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt. And again, I just want to remind you as we engage this passage, we engage what's happening here. This is not a coincidence. This is not an insignificant moment as Jesus enters into the city, because as he is entering in, he is entering into this Easter week. And this is really Jesus stepping into the spotlight. It's Jesus stepping into the limelight. The cameras start to focus. The eyes start to shift into this last week where he achieves what he came to achieve, where he shows what he's here to do, where he has this full demonstration, this wide open demonstration of his heart for people. And I don't know if you notice in verse 14, it says, as it is written. As it is written. That's really a nod to the Old Testament of the Bible. They're quoting the prophet Zechariah. I don't know if you knew this, but Jesus' life, death, and resurrection fulfills over 300 prophecies spoken about him. 300 prophecies. Descriptions about Jesus that were foretold and that were written down by real people in real moments, years, hundreds of years before Jesus walks the earth. And Jesus comes in his life, he comes in his death, and he comes in the resurrection, and he signs off on all of them. He fulfills all of these prophetic descriptions of who he was. And it's this spiritual moment, it's this significant moment in the story. But it's also this really human moment. It's also this really normal moment. And as we get a window into some of that in verse 16, it says this, at first, his disciples did not understand all this. Some of us, we just found a new life verse right there. You ever been in something you hadn't understood, or you hear something from Jesus, you hear a teaching, you hear a message like this, and you're like, I think I'm the only one who doesn't get what's being talked about. At first, his disciples did not understand all this. Now we know later that they came to some understanding. But I love that moment, and I love that the gospel writer John marks that down because maybe he was one of them. He's fully in this moment, but he doesn't fully see what's going on in the moment he's in. And I just felt this nudge today that some of us, we've come to follow Jesus, or we've had a recent encounter with Jesus, or we've had a recent experience with Jesus, and it's exciting, and it's thrilling, and you're feeling all the feels, or it's this new experience, and you don't fully understand it. I just want to say it's okay. It's okay. Just keep doing what the disciples did. Just keep following Jesus. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. At first, we rarely don't understand the moments we're in for all they're worth. Just keep moving forward with Jesus. Maybe some of us were a longtime follower of Jesus, but we're in a new season. We're in a new role, a new capacity, a new challenge, a new terrain. I want to encourage you, just keep following Jesus. Just keep following Jesus. At first, you might not understand all this. You will. It'll probably be in hindsight, but you will. Just keep following Jesus. Just keep saying yes to him. Verse 16 goes on this: only after Jesus was glorified, only after like the story kind of reached its conclusion, did they realize two things: the things that had been written about him, the prophecies, the Old Testament, which most of them would have known and memorized, that were written about him, and these things that had been done to him. It wasn't until after the moment that they fully understood the moment. It wasn't until after the encounter until they fully understood the encounter. It's this moment of significance and meaning and mystery, and we get the ability to see it from the other side. Right? We get to see what happens at the end. We get the end of the story, right? We get the book of Revelation. We get like, hey, it all turns out pretty good for those of us who follow Jesus. Like the story ends pretty well. And we get to see what came before. We get to see all the way from Genesis and the nation of Israel and the prophets, and Jesus is right here in the middle of those things, two things. We get to see it from all angles. We get the privilege of that. And sometimes we don't even understand it fully. But we get the privilege of that. But I want to take you to that moment. I don't want us to just read it from our perspective of knowing after or what was before. I want to take you into that moment when Jesus is entering into the city, when he's coming into Jerusalem, that great crowd. And I just want you to picture it again. Picture the busyness. Picture the buzz. Picture it, you're downtown and the Griffins are playing. Right? There are lots of things happening, and Jesus is coming in, and there's this great following. He's entering the city. There's people talking about him. There's people noticing him. There's eyes fixed on him. And look what happens, verse 13. It says this: they took palm branches. They took palm branches and went out to meet him and lied them down. Other translations or depictions of this moment, they also throw their cloaks on the ground. They create this red carpet for Jesus. And palm branches were a symbol for the nation of Israel of national identity. They were almost like a logo or a branding or a flag that they were laying it down. And as they do that, they're saying, this is our guy. Like this is our leader. This is our king. This is the one we trust. And they do it because they're shouting. They say, save us. This word Hosanna means to save us or grant us victory, grant us escape, grant us rescue. They're saying, this is our guy. This is our leader that's going to bring us out of where we are and into where we want to be. Because remember, Jesus is entering into the Passover. He's entering into people that are celebrating a past bondage, but they're also in a current bondage. They're under Roman rule. It's their city, and they get a little room to play, but they don't have full freedom and autonomy. They're not fully able to be who the people they want to be. They're not fully able to express, be led in such a way that honors the traditions of what they've been called into as God's people. So they're celebrating a past victory, but they're also praying, God, thank you that you saved us back then, but we need you to save us right now. We need you to get us out of under the thumb of the Romans. We need you to get us out of this physical situation, this physical bondage we are in. So they say, save us, grant us victory, grant us hope. Then they pronounce this blessing. Blessed is he, Jesus, who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. They were celebrating Jesus. Great crowd. Lots of noise. Lots of buzz. They're announcing, our King is here. This is the moment. We're going to lay down our logo. We're going to lay down the symbol and say, this is our guy for our nation, for our people. Here is the moment. He's coming into the city. It's about to go down. It's fight night. They're excited. He's finally here. And they're celebrating Jesus. And here's the thing we got to see. They're celebrating Jesus. And we should. Like, we're in church. We should celebrate Jesus. That's a good thing to do. That's a good thing to do. But they were celebrating the Jesus they thought they knew. They were celebrating the Jesus they thought they knew. And they were celebrating the Jesus they thought they needed. And there's lots of commotion, and there's lots of noise, and there's lots of excitement because that moment where their expectations are going to be fulfilled is here. Where their assumptions are coming true. It's all lining up like they thought it would. And it's like, yes, finally, it's here. Have you ever assumed something when you were on the other side, it didn't really pan out how you were assuming it would? Christy and I, we did a road trip from Eastern Canada to Grand Rapids, Michigan as our honeymoon, because that's what broke people do. They do road trips. It wasn't, super crazy, but we had fun. We packed her stuff in my car, and we drove from the wedding. And it was this great trip, and got to see some different things and do some different things, and spend all the cash that we received at the wedding weekend. And well, one of the logistic pieces that I was in charge of was like mapping out each day. Okay, so we're going to drive from here to here. We're going to do this thing, and one of the things was like, oh, we should do Niagara Falls. I've been to the Canadian side, I've not been to the American side. And I was like, we should do Niagara Falls. Rookie mistake, by the way. Always go to the Canadian side on the Niagara Falls discussion. So it's like, okay, got to figure out somewhere to stay and all this thing. And so I was like, oh, there's this Airbnb, and it says a private room. Private room. Like, that sounds great. A private room, and okay, and it was at this nice lady's, I forget what the name of it was, but it was like this, like very like sound like, okay, it's like a hotel kind of thing, right? A motel thing and bed and breakfast type idea. And okay, there's like a shared meal space. Okay, great. Like maybe they're going to serve a meal. And we park across the street because there's no parking. We walk in. There's 3 or 4 other couples in the house. There's multiple languages being spoken, which I'm all for that. I'm greeted by a lady at the front door she's the owner of this, not hotel, but the owner of this hostel, essentially. So we do have a private room that is one of the bedrooms in this many-bedroom house with a shared bathroom and a shared breakfast. I think there's people having a meal as we walked in, and she encouraged us with a couple logistical things, and we were like, kind of looking at each other like, are we staying here tonight? Like, I don't know. And it's like, I think we're out of money, like we probably should. It's here in the car, babe, and she encouraged us, here's how much towels cost. And I'm like, what? Right. $5 a towel is this whole thing. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had the assumption that we were going to stay in this nice little B&B, and it's 3 blocks from the falls and all this stuff. It's like, I picked the worst part of town, a hostel. Like literally we went out to eat, and Christy was like, you need to get the car and drive me back because I do not feel safe here. It was one of those scenarios as we had that long night of sleep. I think we left at 7 a.m. Like we were like, goodbye. Keep your towels, okay? Like, my assumption and reality were very, very, very different. My assumption and expectations and my experience were very, very, very different. I don't know if you've been in that moment before. This is a little bit what's happening here beneath the surface. That they're celebrating something that they think is going to happen. They celebrate something that they think is going to end the way they want it to, or end the way they need it to. And they're celebrating this Jesus, but they're celebrating a Jesus they thought they knew. A Jesus that they thought they had figured out. A Jesus that they thought they had needed. As Jesus steps into there's this assumption being made about him. There's these expectations being made about him. But we know those assumptions are a little off. That a mindset, the celebration that's happening is a little bit misguided. Because if you read the rest of the story, you know that Jesus wasn't there to overthrow a government. He wasn't there to give orders or to commandeer or to build a following. He wasn't there for accolades or attention. He wasn't there to prove his lordship, to prove his worthiness, and to take what was rightfully his. Jesus is there on his way to a cross. He's there on his way to lay his life down. He's there to show a way that to conquer darkness, that to conquer evil is not through strong arming or a policy or a campaign, but through conquering through sacrifice and love and forgiveness. And this is not the expectation. This is not the assumption that the people in this story are celebrating. But this is the Jesus that was coming. This is the real Jesus and the real intent and the real and heart of why he was coming. He wasn't there to say, you guys are in and you guys are out. No, he's there to show that the God-human barrier is way too far for anyone to cross on their own, to lay his life down. Jesus is not there in this moment. As he enters, he's not there to win a throne. He's there to win hearts. He's there to lay himself down. And they're celebrating who they thought he was and what they thought they needed. I wonder for some of us this week, what if this week is a chance to lay down who we think Jesus should be? What we think he should do? What we expect or assume is true, or because of our knowledge, we've assumed this thing. We've assumed we got this thing figured out. What if it's a time to start again, to start fresh, to look at Jesus and say, Jesus, I want who you are, not just who I expect you to be. Jesus, I want who you are, not just I assume you are. I want to start over. I think some of us this week, we need to get saved again. We need to get saved again. We need to get back to that place of, man, Jesus, you would go into a city, into a Holy Week, into a Passion Week, and you would do it for me. You'd give your life for me. You'd take a cross for me. You'd bear the full weight of sin and shame that you didn't deserve, but you took upon yourself. You would do that for me. Jesus, you would come out of a tomb thinking of me. Some of us, we need to get back to that place of we got to start again and not to live with the assumptions or the expectations of, oh, I know how this thing goes and I know what this story means and I know why Jesus did this. And no, what if we took him at face value for our first time and said, Jesus, I want who you are. Would you show me that? Would you reveal that to me? Would you move that in me in a fresh way? I want you, not just my expectations. I want you, not just what I think I need. I want you, not just what I assume about you. Jesus, I want you. Because here's what's true about Jesus. Jesus is not always the king we expect. But he is the king we need. He's not always the king we expect. But he is the king we need. He's not always there to meet our expectations. Jesus' role in your life is not to fulfill your expectations, but he promises to meet your needs. He doesn't always speak or move or act or follow our timeline like we think we should, like we think he ought to. But he is the one who promises to be present, to be active, to be in it with us, to save and provide and heal. He doesn't always provide quick fixes or quick answers, but he does promise to be present in pain, in questions, and in process. He's not always the king we expect or assume him to be, but he is the king we need. Jesus is after the deepest need in your life and in my life. That is what is on his agenda. That's why he comes in Holy Week. This is why he enters into the city. He's on his way to a cross. He's on his way to give his life, to invite a new covenant, to invite a new promise, to invite a new relationship with people like you and me. So part of the question of Easter week, part of the question of Holy Week is, would we lay down who we think Jesus is? And what we think he is up to, or what he ought to be up to, who we assume him to be. Would we lay that down and say, Jesus, would you enter into my situation, and would I have eyes to see, would I have ears to hear, would I have a heart to receive who you are and why you have come? Because he's not always the person or the king or the leader or the author or the savior we expect, but he is the one we need. So the question is, what kind of king do we need? What kind of leader do we need? What is true about Jesus that makes him that kind of king? And I want to give you three attributes, three ways that Jesus steps into his divine destiny, to step into that highlight and that spotlight of who he is and why he came. It's prophesied in the prophet Zechariah 9, chapter 9. It says this: "Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion," speaking about the nation of Israel. "Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See your king, the king you need, the king that has come to you, the king that is there for you, the king that is intersecting your reality with his. He comes to you, and he's righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." A couple attributes of Jesus, who is king. He is a powerful king. He's powerful. He's powerful. We see it in the prophecies. We see it in the life of Jesus. We see it that he's just coming from a little village where he does this significant miracle. He raises a guy from the dead. We see the power of Jesus. We see the power of Jesus in the empty tomb. We see the power of Jesus to heal and restore. It says this in Zechariah 9:9, "See, your king comes to you, righteous," in that word, victorious. Like he has a victory about him. He has a strength about him. That word victorious means he is armed with salvation. He is armed with salvation. He is able to save. He is able to heal. He is able to forgive. He is able to, like we just talked about, meet your deepest need, which is ultimately him. He's powerful. But like we said, like, it's not always a power we expect. It's not always a power we would describe or we would anticipate. It's a different power. It's a power to redeem. It's a power to heal what is inside. And in 2026, there are a lot of people with a lot of power, right? There's a lot of power out there today. A lot of influence, a lot of following, a lot of resources. Power to do lots of good and power to do lots of evil. And we see that and we read headlines about that. Jesus has a power, but it's often a different power than we expect or we anticipate. It's a power to heal, to transform, to bring light, to meet the deepest need. And he's powerful. But one of the things I love about Jesus, he's not just powerful, he's trustworthy. He's not just strong or able. He's good. He's not just powerful. He's not just a powerful king. He is a pure king. He's pure. Pure. And Jesus steps into that in the moment. We see that in his life, but we see that fulfilled in this prophecy. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious. He's not just victorious. He's not just strong. He is righteous. He is right. He is just. He is perfect. There's no flaw in him. He is good. We see this in the moments before his death. Jesus is before Pontius Pilate. He's before the governor of Rome at the time. This is like you're passed along all these different rulers and you wind up in the Supreme Court. The best of the best trying you, questioning you, verifying who you are and what you've done. And Pilate himself admits that he can find nothing wrong with Jesus. He says, like, I can't find any accusation. I can't find anything. Like, he is apparently who he says he is. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's not violated any law. He is who he says he is. He is pure. Think about that. There is no one more trustworthy than Jesus. There's no one more trustworthy. If he is perfectly pure, if he's powerful, but not just powerful. We know a lot of people who are really powerful, but not everybody's powerful and pure. Right? And we know a lot of people that are pure, but they might not have any power or influence. Like, they mean well. Right? But there's not. Jesus is both. He's powerful and he's pure. I think about 2 Corinthians 5:21 says this, for our sake, he, talking about God the Father, made him, Jesus, to be sin who knew no sin, so that we might become the righteousness of God. Jesus wasn't on the cross because he did something wrong. Jesus wasn't on the cross because he was shady behind the scenes. Jesus was on a cross because he had asterisks next to his name. Jesus on his cross because he was a perfect, pure sacrifice, and he is a pure king. He's powerful and victorious, but he's also righteous and pure. And one more window we see into this king, that he's a personal king. He's a personal king. He's personal. It says, see your king comes to you. No other king comes to us, unless they want us to sign a petition or give them money or something like that, right? No, every other model of leadership, every other model of lordship, every other model of kingship is, hey, you come follow me and your life will be better. Vote for me. I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but vote for me and I'll lower taxes. Right? Come follow me. Come to me and I'll make your life better. But Jesus leaves perfection and comes into our mess so he can redeem us. He flips the script. He is personal. See, your king comes to you. No other leader comes to us. Jesus does. He comes, he initiates. Righteous and victorious, right? Pure and powerful. And then look at these words, lowly or humble in riding on a donkey. He's lowly, he's meek, he's mild, riding on a donkey. Kings at the time would enter into the city after a victory, military conquest, and they would enter not on a donkey. Right? That's like the the Grand Prix of the day. Like they're rolling in Maserati, right? Mercedes. They're rolling. They're looking good. They're on a tall white horse that's got armor on, and it's above you, like you're maybe at best eye level with where they're sitting. And they ride into the city. People come and gather to pay homage and to honor and to celebrate their victory. Not Jesus. Jesus comes on a donkey that can probably barely hold his weight. Like, are we there yet, sir? Like, how much longer is this ride to Jerusalem, right? Or you picture like the donkey from Shrek. Like that was Jesus. That was Jesus' whip he chose to ride into Jerusalem with in this moment. This is Jesus. Why does he choose the donkey? Lots of reasons. One of the things, I think Jesus wanted to be eye level with people. You sit on a donkey, right? You're barely above where you were standing. Right? I think he wanted to look people in the eye and, I remember you. I healed you by the pool. I remember you. You're the person, you're not quite sure about this whole thing. We had a conversation about that along the road. I remember you and your story, that you were bound and addicted and broken. Jesus is riding in, and he's personal. He's eye level with people. They're celebrating a king, but they're celebrating at best a king that they wanted just to be powerful and victorious. militant, domineering and dominating. They're celebrating who they thought they knew and who they thought they needed. But Jesus is this king. He's this pure, powerful, personal king. And he comes in this moment. And we need a king who is powerful and pure and personal. Friends, Jesus is the only king who is all three all of the time. All three all of the time. All three all the time. I'm not all three all of the time. My friend, neither are you. And neither is any other source we often look to for direction and trust and security and hope and information and wisdom and stability and vision for our lives. Jesus is this perfect king that enters in, and he's the king that meets our deepest need, that speaks to our deepest need. And he intersects us. He comes for us in this holy week. I want to take you again to that moment where Jesus rides in the city, where he comes in. There's this great noise. There's this great crowd, great commotion. But Jesus comes in part for you, in part for me. And I want to ask you today, what's your response to King Jesus? What is your response to King Jesus? What is your response to a king who is perfectly powerful, perfectly pure, perfectly personal all of the time? Because that's the deepest thing we need. That's the need. Not often what we assume, but that's what Jesus comes and he meets us at the heart level. And what is your response to King Jesus? Some of us, again, today, it's a reminder. It's a refresh of Jesus. I thank you that that's who you are and that's who you came to be in my life. Some of us, we've recently started that relationship, and this is a calibration, like, oh, this is the person I get to follow. This is the person I trust with my life. This is the person who wants to make me new. This is the person who offers me a relationship. Maybe you're in the room, you've wandered. You've wandered from God. You've been distracted, or you've been derailed in that relationship. Today's a day to align yourself with King Jesus, to come back to him or to start that relationship for the first time. And what I love about Jesus is he already started it with you. He already rang the phone. He already sent the message. And this Easter week is all of us all across the spectrum say, Jesus, we want to respond to who you are, to experience who you are in a fresh way. And so that's my prayer for us today and in the coming days. We'd have eyes to see, Jesus, who are you? It's a perfect king, the king I need, the king I need to follow.